What is up, guys, and welcome back to the Sweat It Out podcast. Today we have an awesome guest all the way from New Jersey. This guy, I will tell you, has tremendous work ethic, and he will not stop till he get what he deserves. Trust me on that. Guys, he is a fitness coach. He is a leader, fitness advocate. He's a gym owner. He is a true dedicated individual as a coach, and he has the brand called AlphaFit Club. Guys, please help me welcome Sam Tooley. What's up, brother?
What up, dude? You got the music, you got like the sexy podcast voice,
Woo!
You got it, yeah, you got all of it. So
we've been working on that deep voice,
stoked to be here with you guys.
As are we.
I'm admired from afar and ready to dice it up. So
awesome.
Appreciate the love, man. So how you been, dude? How's everything been going for you? I know the last time when we saw each other in person was in December, all right, for the High Rocks event. So since then, man, like I know a lot has changed. I know a lot of things have stirred up, and I know you being a huge person in the fitness field out in your area, and you know, being a gym owner, I know certain things changed, and I definitely want to get your take on that. And I know behind the podcast, you told me some big moves you made, which I do want to talk about that too, and see from your vision and thought on those moves that you made. But seeing what you've done on social media is impressive, especially with a lot of the gyms closing down, COVID taking a big hit. And I think you really showed up during tough times and really put your foot down to continue moving forward. And I got to applaud you for that. What was it? Yeah, of course. And what was it that ran through your mind when you had to first close your gyms down and then moving forward on how you were going to approach making money, serving others, your clients, possibly, coaches, and just being able to move forward with everything you're doing? How was that, and what was running through your mind?
Yeah, so if you look back actually at my feed, through Instagram, and look back towards probably like March 15th when a lot of gyms were mandated to close and whatnot. So I've got two about a mile from one another. One's called AlphaFit Club, which is a group concept here in my hometown. The other's more of like a private gym called Alpha Performance. Honestly, the thought about serving people, right, is really what ran through my mind. And it wasn't just the members, it was our staff, it was the community at large. Like, we are a big part of people's lives. And it shook me, to be honest, because like you said, I mean, I work a lot and I work very hard because I'm just super passionate about it. And, there's a backstory in the sense that I wasn't always as I am. And you'll hear me say that quite a bit, but I didn't know what was going to happen, right? There was so much uncertainty. There still is, but at this point I've kind of just taken that by the reins and said, like, we're just going to keep trucking forward and do what we can. But there were moments of doubt where you kind of just sit at your desk and you're like, what's going to happen? What is the next right step here? How do I take care of my people? And what is this going to look like? And to be, in a position of leadership where you have to make those tough decisions and say, like, we're going to close, we're going to open, like this, that, and the other thing. Eventually, quite to be honest with you, when that decision was removed from my shoulders, where they were like, yo, you have to close, I was like, okay, like, it is what it is. We've got to do this. And we have to make sure that we continue to serve those people who entrusted us thus far as best we can. And there's a very emotional, very raw video, which I think is what I've always tried to portray on social media, showcasing me sitting right where I am right now, talking to you guys, pretty much in tears, just saying, I'm getting emotional thinking about it, but I will not let this stop us. I will not let this crush us. And something that I've kind of just learned over time is like, it falls on you. Like, you have a choice and you have a responsibility to kind of take ownership and act over your actions. And whatever happens next is on you. You don't get to determine, you don't get to decide kind of what cards you're dealt, but how you play them is on you. And that's so right. I've kind of just grabbed that and run with it since.
Yeah, I think, I think for really in our entire lifetimes, right, we've had it pretty easy. I mean, in America, we've gone through some different trials and times. We grew up during 9/11, the war in Iraq, the 2008 crash, the, car industry crash, banking, now this, it, the whole COVID lockdown period, right? I really think has taught us, or especially people in our generation, at least, the people that we talk to, right? And I'm sure the same with you, just shows how resilient human beings really can be, right? We can adapt on the fly. We can learn new things. We can try out new things. And, the cream of the crop will always rise. And Mendez talks about this quite a bit on the podcast. You're either going to sink or you're going to swim. One of the two. You have to figure it out, so at least for me personally, I know for Mendez the same way, by the sounds of it, you as well, right? You've really kind of taken the reins and said, I'm not going to let things hold me down from being successful, from helping people the way I know I can help them. It might be in a different avenue, right? Now you're online a lot, but at the end of the day, there's still a service that needs to be provided. There's still a value that needs to be given to your members, to the people that follow us online. And by the sounds of it, you're doing a great job adjusting with that.
Yeah, I'm trying to. I mean, I was fortunate in the sense that my first business ever was online coaching. So a couple years back, I'd say about 4 years ago, I had recently come home and kind of regrouped and regathered myself. I had, to be transparent, I had just gotten sober, and my dad had looked
Congrats,
at me
by the way. Congrats on that.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Yeah. And I think we say congrats to everybody when I announce that, because it's probably just best for the universe that I decided to go that route. But my dad looked at me and he was like, listen, man, like, what do you want to do? And luckily I was super supported. And I was like, the only thing that I can see myself doing in terms of contributing and being happy is just coaching at my high school. Right. And so I came home to coach at my high school. And as fate would have it, and again, when you talk about cards being dealt, that first season that I was coaching, my dad passed away really, really suddenly, just from a routine procedure, and life was kind of turned upside down. And it was the first time that I had experienced, quite frankly, any discomfort in my life. And I just kind of took a step back and I said, what am I going to do to make some money? Like, that was obviously, there was a ton more emotional stuff that transpired before then. But one of the resounding takeaways was like, okay, man, like, you need to grow up and start figuring stuff out. You can't just be an assistant coach at your high school and chill on the weekends with your pops. Like, that's not how this is going to play. So I took a step back, and this is when I saw a lot of guys just starting to build business on Instagram. Right. And it was mainly people who were putting out, we're going to get you shredded, we're going to have you weight loss, this, that, and the other thing. But nobody was catering to endurance athletes, which was my background growing up. I was a state champ. College, I ran for a year before.
Ooh.
Again,
cross country, right? Did cross
country and track.
Nice.
Yep. And that was my jam and my outlet as well. And so when I came home, I was super grateful to be back doing what I love, and the fact that I could kind of call it a job was so mind-boggling to me. But the point being is that nobody was catering to endurance athletes online. And I said, okay, like, the closest thing that I'm seeing when I type in #endurance coach was like a mom crouched down next to her minivan, holding up 5 fingers like this, being like, just ran 5 miles. Like, like, did you get your miles in? I'm like, that doesn't relate. I don't relate to that. Where's like my hardcore, like, go get it guy? So I went out on a limb and I started that business where it was paired with an Instagram account. And I just said, I'm going to document my training. I'm going to try and beg people to let me coach them. And we're going to dive into this. So over the years, that has really built to become my main source of income, to the point where I'm coaching almost 100 endurance athletes all over the world, from
amazing
5K first timers to Olympic trial qualifiers. We've got a few badass females on the roster who,
beautiful,
have made that leap. And so, when the world kind of shut down and everyone was like, crap, like, we've got to go online, we've got to do this, I was super fortunate in that I've been playing that game for a long time and genuinely believed I was coaching endurance athletes better than anybody digitally, and just doubled down on it. And it gave me time, to be honest with you guys, to focus. And I was like, yo, for once, I don't have gyms, private clients at 5 a.m., this, that, and the other thing. This gets to be everything. And over quarantine, I was able to double that business. And I was like, wow, like, when you can just intensely lock in on something like this, the sky's the limit, literally.
Yeah, you beat me to the punch there. I was going to talk about intention, right? Like being able to put your full undivided intention and attention right into something really makes a huge difference. I mean, we saw it with the podcast. We've been talking about this. And again, sorry to our listeners who have to hear me ramble on about this, but you know, we've been talking about this for probably over a year. You know, nothing ever came about it because we were always just doing other things. And finally COVID hit and we were sitting inside of our apartments and said, you know, what else do we have to do? Yep. So let's get it started. Let's, you know, start the ball rolling, and, you know, the rest has been history. But I couldn't agree more with you, man. And on the flip side, I'm sure Mendes can agree. I probably have to hire you as my endurance coach because I hate like sprints. I'll run sprints all day. I don't care, but run 5, 10, 15 miles. Like you gotta like dangle a hot dog in front of my face.
Just come
or something.
to Miami, man.
Yeah.
We'll
There you go.
In the wintertime though, in the summertime, I don't know if I can run.
But look, I'm gonna tell you, and it's amazing because I think it's crazy though, but we say it all the time. It's just like, even the whole COVID thing, like, don't get me wrong, you know, and I say it again, you know, unfortunate for a lot of people, you know, sorry for a lot of people who've lost in many ways. And I think at the same time, though, we can say that there has been a lot of gains in certain areas in all our lives, you know, and I think one of them being is that, you know, yes, it took this to take you out of possibly your gyms, some of the things you're used to, but now look what it opened doors for this area that you said you've doubled down on and you've made double and you've been able to come into fruition. I think it's sometimes these kind of traumas, these moments really sometimes put people against a wall and can get the best out of you and make you realize something, other little hidden gems that you have that maybe you just weren't focusing too much on and you really needed to now during these times. And, you know, once again, I applaud you because, you know, it's not easy. And a lot of people sometimes wait around for that moment to come, or they wait around during a time like this to get the approval to do something or to step up and say like, man, like, no, I got to do this now. And it's just like, no, you got to just do it yourself because that's what's most important. And if you are truly passionate about what you want to do and it's something you've been putting off for a long time and now you have the time, well, now's the time you got to double down on this shit and go full throttle. You know, and that's where I feel like there's certain people that separate themselves from others, and it clearly shows, you know, who those are, and you being one of them, that really take advantage, you know, and take this risk and put their time and energy. And I think one of the things you mentioned earlier, it's just like, you know, honestly, the way I say it is like, you got to control what you can control, you know, knowing that everything out there is right now is uncontrollable. The only thing you can control is yourself and your decisions.
Who can you control?
You know, maybe I control you a little bit.
I don't know. We'll see.
We'll
go through our text messages and we'll see.
But it's one of those things where I say it's like, you got to understand that when you can understand that, you know, that's where you can do a lot of impact, you know, because a lot of people come out here sometimes trying to just change everything, change the world, do this, and try to control the uncontrollable. And yet they're not focused on controlling what first? Themselves, you know? So once again, kudos to you, man, for doing an amazing job.
Man, I appreciate it. It's funny that you talk about being backed up against the wall, right? And I think some people perform best when they have to, right? Out of a place of necessity, where it's like, yo, you just need to figure this out now, right? And that is what I felt like. There was a little bit of, I try to live my life with a lot of urgency, right? In the sense that I like to move fast, right?
Are you reading my mind, by the way? I was about to.
There's well, listen, we're on the same wavelength, right? And certain people operate in a certain way, for sure. And so for me, again, I have a chip on my shoulder. I always have, right? But now I'm actually using it as almost like a superpower in the sense that I embrace it, right? And it's one of those things where I just move quickly because I feel like I kind of owe it to myself and I owe it to other people who maybe can't. So another, you know, massive part of my story and the reason why I operate the way I do is 9 months after I lost my dad, which again made me start my business. I lost my little brother, right? And lost him in a home fire that I was in, right? And I escaped from. And it's one of those things where you see things on the news and you think it would happen to you never would think it would happen to yourself, where I'm literally, I have memories in my mind that I cannot wash away. And it's me standing on my home, on my roof, watching it burn and jumping off, and like standing there helpless that I can't do anything about it. And when you have something like that, man, that just shakes you to your core and kind of just sits you down and makes you question why and what your purpose is and what it's all about. Because when you're stripped away of like the people you love most and who have your back and all that, like my purpose was to make sure my brother knew we could do anything we wanted. And clearly I'm an emotional guy and I wear that on my sleeve, but it's the truth. And so when I lost him, I was like, man, what is this all about? Like, why, you know, you're just left with a lot of questions. And the resounding takeaway that I've tried to implement and live by is that now I have the opportunity and I have the responsibility to him and to others who can't get up every day and chase what they want and what they're capable of. Like, I have that responsibility to go do it. And I'm going to move fast and I'm going to listen to my gut and I'm just going to take chances and I'm going to make it happen because I can. And when you start to show up for yourself like that and, you know, just lean into the fact that like, yo, shit's hard and it's not always going to work. But if you bet on yourself and you consistently show up and prove yourself right that you can, then big things happen. And I think that's, you know, not to toot my own horn or anything like that, but the reason why I've been able to, the reason I've been able to accomplish a lot in a very short period of time, relatively speaking, is because I move at that pace and I listen to my gut and I've got a massive purpose behind it.
Yeah. I mean, there's something about, and, you know, first of all, you know, sorry for both of your losses. I couldn't imagine what it's like to go through those experiences personally. And it really shows a testament to your character, right? And how your father and your mother raised you, that you've been able to utilize these tremendous hardships in your life and turn them into something positive that you can share with others, right? So many people that I've experienced with that have gone through similar things, right? They kind of just waller in that guilt about, you know, what could I have done or what should I have done? And instead of doing that, you're taking it upon yourself to say, what am I going to do? Right? How am I going to leave an impact so that, you know, as you mentioned, they can both be proud of you. And I'm sure that, you know,
proud.
Looking above, they are tremendously proud of you. I mean, I've known you 15 minutes, and I'm proud of the things that you've done. You know, it's not easy. We both had, you know, in different ways than you, obviously, difficult childhoods at times, and to be able to be on that side and understand how resilient, again, to use that word that I mentioned earlier, resilient you are, and the things that you've done since those you know, difficult experiences have come into your life, really says a lot about who you are as a person and what you're really going to do throughout your lifetime, not only now, but, you know, every year, every minute after this. Really, really goes a long way. And, you know, you mentioned that purpose, right? And I feel like, especially nowadays with everyone's jobs being taken away from them and these situations where you don't know what the future holds, leading your life by that sense of purpose right now more than ever, I think, is so important. Mainly because there are all these other people that need to be uplifted, right? That are going through similar struggles. You know, I'm sure there's plenty of gym owners that could use your, you know, sound advice on how to get through not only the financial aspect of it, but the emotional side of things, because it is difficult. You know, everything's being taken away from you. You've experienced that on a whole nother level than everyone else. Yeah. So I think that there's even more insight that you can bring to that. But what is it about leading a value-driven, purposeful life that has really kind of turned things around for you? Like, is there any things that, any little points throughout, you know, the time since the passing of your father and your brother where you did make the shift that you really, it really came to the forefront of your own mindset where you said, okay, you know, I'm doing the things that I need to be doing? You know, maybe not day to day, but overall, right? Like, you know, I'm heading in the right direction. This is my purpose. This is what I was meant to do.
Yeah, I think it's a great question, right? And I think honestly, when you live from a place of purpose and you have a mission, it actually simplifies life. You have clarity, right? You have clarity. So it's funny. I've been fortunate enough to go on some amazing trips over the last few years where, for example, I went to El Salvador and it was a week-long retreat by the Live Better guys who have become great friends to me. And it was one of those things where I was able to take a step back and ask myself, you know, again, I was still achieving things, right? But I was almost moving for the sake of moving, right? I was just checking boxes, moving forward, et cetera. But I wasn't necessarily certain that I was on the right path. It was more so that I was just moving forward and that felt good, right? Recognition from other people for opening a gym, this, that, and the other thing felt good, right? And I think we all crave that to an extent, but I didn't feel like my bucket was filled up in the sense that I was doing everything that I could to help people in a way that felt right to me. It felt like I was just using fitness as almost like an escape rather than a vehicle for true change, right? And one of the things that I said when I first opened my tiny ass first gym, it was like 500 square feet. It was like me, my dog, and a treadmill. And I was, again, just begging people to let me train them at like 24 years old. But it was one of those things where I was like, okay, I'm going to use fitness to infiltrate people's lives because that's what they trust me to do, but I'm going to help them in a bigger way. And it was like, that was my mission. And I think I got away from that a little bit because you start chasing, you know, how big of a gym can I get? How many members can I get? How many clients can I get? And you get away from that true purpose behind why you got into it in the first place. And so as I was able to take that step back and come to that idea, I think one of the things that I said to the group, because I ended up feeling like I was a leader there, right? I felt like I was a peer with the guys leading it because we were just so like-minded. I said, isn't it so funny that we have to literally travel across the world and sit on a beach with a bunch of strangers to think deeply and come away with clarity, right? I was like, we're not doing that. Like you're in this rat race every single day and you don't have the opportunity or you don't have the sound of mind to say, is this really what I want? Is this really filling up my bucket? And I think a lot of times you can come back from those trips and you're like, I'm going to strip away this. I'm going to strip away that. I was like, that's not what I'm getting from this. I still want it all. I still want to achieve massive shit and really conquer things, but I have
There's
clarity
nothing wrong with that.
and 100%. There's nothing wrong with that. Clarity doesn't mean that you have to want less. It just means that you know why you want it. And I think for me, that trip gave me clarity in terms of the value I wanted to provide to people, the purpose that I had, the mission that I was kind of driving from. And so I came back from that at the beginning of this year, at the beginning of 2020, fortunately enough, which who knew was going to be like, really plainly speaking, like my hardest year in terms of business and this, that, and the other thing, and navigating all this with such a clear purpose. And I was able to launch like a mindset course where I just said, screw it. Yo, I'm more than just a fitness guy,
Boom.
right? I can do more than just tell you how to do a push-up. That's not this. Like I can help you get past the shit that's holding you back the most, which is yourself, because I've done that work. I got sober. Like I was my biggest enemy. I was my worst critic. And I think most of us often are. So ironically speaking, when people ask me about getting sober and, you know, how was I able to push past, you know, the passing of my father and my brother, the foundation, quite frankly, was set when I got sober because it was the ultimate recognition that it was in my hands, right? I was so good at pointing the finger, at blaming other people, at blaming circumstance. Like I grew up in a family with addiction. Like it surrounded me. I always had an out. I always had a scapegoat and nobody held me accountable. And I just sat there rock bottom, hopeless, depressed, anxious, you name it. And I was like, man, if I don't change, if I don't take control of this right now, I'm going to end up in a very scary place because I was deteriorating. I was literally hopeless. And that is the worst feeling. And so what I want to help people do, from whether it's like when I coach kids at the high school level who are struggling at home to adults who are struggling when they're 40 years old, is to give them the the foresight to believe in themselves and to understand what they're capable of if they're willing to take ownership over their lives, because nothing changes until people do that. So I think to answer your question, which that was a long-winded way of doing so, was losing them, going through what I've gone through, all of it, right, gives you clarity when you can take a step back and just say why.
Yeah. And I think when you go through these traumas in life, right, and everyone has their own form of them, doesn't matter if, you know, you grew up in a very wealthy family or you grew up like Mendez and I did, where, you know, you were living paycheck to paycheck, or like you, where, you know, you lost the people who you loved the most. How do you bounce back from that? You know, like you got to figure out a way. You can't sit there and wonder why these things happen to you. They happened. Now what? Right?
Now, I love the now what.
Right? Now what? Now what do you do? You know?
Yeah.
And to your point, you have to take accountability. And I think, you know, as fitness coaches, something that was always so difficult for us, right? It's like, how do we get our clients to understand that the power is really in their hands? Like, we're just, as Mendes says it so eloquently, right? We're just the GPS of the car, right? You still have to be the driver. You know, we can direct you in the right path. We can tell you what ways to, you know, what things to avoid. But at the end of the day, you have to go out and do everything for yourself.
Totally.
You know, no one's gonna, you know, help make your online business successful other than you. You might have help, but at the end of the day, no one's going to care about it more than you care about it. Same thing for us. No one's going to care about this podcast more than we care about it. So if there's a problem, we have to figure out a solution to it quickly, you know, and be able to move forward.
And I think another thing, like something I say all the time, you know, and this goes for everybody with their own personal problems. You know, obviously, like Josh said, you've had your traumas. You know, we've had ours. Everybody's had some bigger than others, different ones, so on and so forth. But what I tell people all the time is, the world doesn't stop moving for you. So why are you going to stop moving in the world?
Mm-hmm.
You know, and understanding that is huge because, like Josh said, nobody cares. The world doesn't care. And at the end of the day, you got to care first for yourself. And when you can care for yourself first, then you can start moving forward and start doing all the amazing things you want, having that clarity of what you really want in life. And then you can actually impact other people's lives like you're doing and like others are doing. And I think that level of understanding is important. You know, I think a lot of people have situations, and doesn't mean that, heck, you know, they're wrong for waiting or sitting around. It's just they're stuck. They don't know. But it's also for them to understand, like, you don't need to wait. You don't need to feel stuck. You can get up. You can move. Guys, the world is continuing to move. And if you don't move, you're going to be stuck for the rest of your life.
Sam turned his hat around backwards. Must be getting serious.
I'm leaned in now. I'm leaned in.
I feel like I should go get a hat so that I can turn my hat back around. You guys both have.
Oh, man. So, Sam, I got to ask you, man, with all the stuff you've experienced, and obviously it shows, like, with the different traumas you've experienced, something else came out of that. Something else came out of that. Yep. With this moment in time, you know, experience what you experienced as a gym owner, doing the new things you're doing. I know you mentioned to me, you're gonna take a gamble, and you're gonna be opening up, or you put into possibly open up some new locations. Do you have a new approach on how you're going to do that, the way that you're going to function the locations? Are you going to run them the same? Are they going to be ran differently, knowing that you can serve on other areas, like you said, mindset, all this other stuff? Are these new components added into your gym? How's that going to look like? And what is your recommendation for other gym owners to do, approaching a gym model again during these times and after?
Sure. So for me, one of my biggest takeaways, and the reason that we are doubling down, it's happening. So right now, the gyms that I own are in my hometown, which was a leg up, right? So Westfield, New Jersey.
Make sure you send me those addies, by the way. I'm gonna definitely push all my Westfield people. You guys know who you are. You guys know who you are.
If they don't know that, I'm doing something
By
wrong.
the way, he definitely got tight when we started talking about Fortino, because he always gets so mad that I know so many. I have these random connections from Syracuse.
I laugh every time. I'm like, bro. Every time
he's
we
like,
go
how?
out,
I'm like, bro, I wish I knew.
from out there, man.
I'm like, I wish I knew, dude. It's weird. It's awkward for me too. I'm like, I just randomly have connections with all these people. I don't even know.
It's like a skill. It's like a skill.
Yeah.
So just roll with it.
Yeah.
But if they need you to tell them about the gym down the road, then we got bigger problems. Then I gotta.
It's less than that, and me being like, listen, you're gonna fucking get your ass in that gym.
Yeah.
You know.
No, I'll take all that.
Yeah.
So my biggest takeaway was that we have created something that people need, right? And so I think at the beginning of COVID, a lot of people were like, gyms are dead, digital is the way, this, that, and the other thing, right? And again, like being somebody who's an online, fitness coach, I'm like, cool, like let's roll with it. But as a brick and mortar gym owner, I'm like, hold up, like the reason that what we have is so special is because of the community component, and that doesn't go anywhere. Quite frankly, coming out of this, I think people will be craving it more than they ever have.
100%.
And that is what, listen, you can get a sweat anywhere, right? You can get a workout wherever you want. And quite frankly, they're all pretty much the same if the people are doing a good job, right? Ours is a strength and conditioning circuit style class. There's no crazy moves. We partnered with Techno Gym and got the sexiest equipment that we could. The space looks like a rocket ship. Like it's awesome. Exactly. I'm getting fired up talking about it.
I'm getting fired up.
Yeah.
Listen to you talk about it.
Now Josh is gonna promote it even harder.
I'm like, how many skill mills does he have there? Can I run sprints there? Like
we got four. So
perfect. I'm gonna take up all four of them.
Make sure you put a huge track to get his ass moving.
Yeah. Dangle some croquetas or something in front of me. I'll be right there. Empanadas.
Yeah. We can make it happen. But that was my takeaway, was like, listen, like at the end of the day, the storm will pass. It always does. Right. And when we come out of this, people are going to want to get the heck out of their house, work out with other people, work out with the best trainers face to face, be a part of a vibe and atmosphere and ambiance that is different than working out in your freaking living room. It's just the way, like I love training. I'll train 3 times a day if I could. Right. But I don't want to do it in my house. And I want to, and I want an experience, and I want to be around other people. Right. So for me, that was my biggest takeaway. When people started to reach out and voice their concern for the gym and how we were doing, voice their appreciation for us doing Zoom workouts and IGTV and this, that, and the other thing, so that they could feel a little bit of normalcy, right? Where they just needed that. And I don't want to use the word escape, but they needed that time for themselves to just move and feel better and stop thinking about bills, their job, the kids staying at home for school, like the stresses of the world. Exercise should be a stress reliever, not an added stress, right?
That's right.
And I always say that to people, especially even endurance athletes, right, who really care about their races and their training and getting better. I'm like, listen, if this is an added stress to your life, then we're doing something wrong, right? It's important to care about it and to take it seriously. But at the end of the day, none of us are professional athletes. And this is supposed to be just added value. Yeah, right. Listen, I got to remind myself.
Stress me out all the time.
Yeah.
He's always stressing.
We got all these football helmets in here. I'm ready to strap it back up and get back out on the field. I'm like,
woo! I got to remind myself all the time. But it's one of those things where we took a step back, and from a business perspective, we had such passionate members, which is really where the idea stemmed from, where businesses were going out. Gyms were going out, right? The ones that weren't capitalized maybe, or were already going under before this. And so spaces became available in very similar towns and geographic kind of standpoints to ours. And we took advantage of it. So we're going to be opening up in Red Bank, New Jersey, which is down at the beach, Montclair, New Jersey, which is another gorgeous town.
Big college town.
Yep. And then hopefully going up to Westchester, New York as well, to kind of infiltrate the New York market as well. So
a great area to be in.
Yeah. So we're, it's happening. Leases are signed and we're going to rock and roll with it. We'll see.
Amazing.
We'll see what that looks like when the time comes. I will be candid and say we're not in a rush to get open when we can't be at 100% capacity and things like that. But that said, we have 250 members taking classes outside at our gym. 36.
I see it on IG all the time, man. I see
36 classes a week, dude. So listen. It's the name of the gym is AlphaFit Club, right? It's a mindset. It's a mentality, right? Like you don't call something alpha and operate like a beta. That ain't how this goes, right? So the classes happen. If it rains, we work out, right? If it's cold, we will be outside. So it's one of those things where we're trying to lean into that brand identity a little bit And again, it stems from the top, and people know how I operate, where it's a no excuse thing. Like, if you want to, listen, you want to stay home, but we're going to work. And people, I think that's something that's missing nowadays, right? Where even when I coached, quite frankly, and this, I don't want to sound like an old man at 28, but like,
hey, I know what you're going to say, and I agree.
Yeah, there's a softer mindset right now by these kids where, and it's the truth. And I think, quite frankly, my generation had a softer mindset than my coach's generation, right? It's just the way of the world, and everything is more convenient now. I want to be like an old school group fitness concept, in the sense that, yes, we have the sexy skill mills and the toys and all that stuff, right? But you're there to work, and I'm going to challenge you to do exactly that. And my coach in high school is a 70-year-old militant dude who would challenge you to a freaking foot race if he needed to. You know, he would say, step to the line. Like, what do you got? Right. And he knew how to, the best coaches, and I think you guys would agree to this, know how to turn the dial on a lot of different people, right? They know how to connect with the kid who's shy and maybe needs to be nurtured a little bit more. They know how to shut the kid up with the big mouth. They know how to challenge the superstar. And I think something that we're missing in the group fitness world is our true coaches who know how to turn the dial on your stay-at-home mom, your, high-level attorney or executive. Like, these people still want to be pushed, whether they know it or not. And that, I think, is something we've tapped into with our model and our concept, because one of the lines that I say in class is, there's no hiding. It's an open room. You're traveling the room with 3 or 4 other people, and we call it the wolf pack. Like, there's a mural of a wolf on our wall that is 10 by 10 feet. Like, you're not walking in that space to be a sheep. Like, you're there to be a freaking wolf, right? Yeah. And you got the trainer ready to dap you up and say, let's go. Yep. So I think, to answer your question though, about the advice that I would give to a business owner is to lean into your strengths, right? And recognize, again, the value that you bring to your community. Like, we're doubling down because we know that we can really bring something that you have to get in person. Yeah. And it's that touch point.
And I think, just to go back to your point about, being a true coach, it's having that flexibility with the individual, while still, again, to your point, being able to have your hard yeses and your hard no's, right? Like those tried and true values that you believe in, right? You said it yourself, right? Like, you're here to work. Regardless of what happened through your day, you're here to get some shit done. I might have to push that house mom, a little more gentle than I would,
They're savages, by the way. They don't mess around.
Oh, I bet.
They're the ones you got to watch out for.
Oh yeah. Listen, I mean, I said it here on the podcast, like, my hardest working clients are my female mom clients. Totally. Doesn't matter. And to be honest, I have no fucking clue why this is, but it's happened more often than not. No matter what I tell them, they're going to do it.
They say, give me the med ball. I'm doing med ball slams today.
Even outside of
that, I slam some shit. I'm like, all right, let's go.
Even outside of that, I train one mom. She's a mom of 4. All 4 kids are under the age of 6. She's also a lawyer. She's, she helps us with a lot of our legal stuff. And I'm like, listen, she's like, I'm super stressed out. I'm like, you know what you need to do today? You need to take some time for yourself. You take your baby, and you go for a 30-minute walk, and then you're going to come back. Before that 30-minute walk, you're going to do a meditation 10 minutes. When you come back, you're going to do a meditation 10 minutes. And before you go to sleep, you're going to do a meditation 10 minutes. She fucking hit it all yesterday. Just murdered it, and she trained with me earlier in the day.
And her kids are little savages, I hear too.
Oh, they're little absolute savages. I love those kids. 3 young boys and then the little baby girl. So it's,
it's funny too, and I would love to get your guys' take. I'm going to flip the podcast on and ask you a question.
Do it. We'll love it. Wait. You never mentioned, but I know you got one coming for you too. I know you got a podcast coming.
It's coming. We'll see. It's going to be called the Pursuit. So we'll have you boys on. We'll
Hell yeah. We'll make sure that we're game ready.
Yeah, 100%. This is the warm up, but this is the real deal. Mine will be an easy walk, but non-negotiables, right? So it sounds like, to me, right, and this has been something that I've been jamming on since my birthday last month, where I was like, okay, I want to end the year, want to end 2020 the right way. I want to set some rules for myself, some non-negotiables. Like when I hear stories about clients like that, people like that, that just operate at a certain level, they seem to have, you know, rules for themselves, which essentially seem non-negotiable. They're just going to get it done. So I'd be curious to hear, like, for you two during quarantine, like what, and COVID and all that, like what have become non-negotiables for you where it's transcended into your business? It's been, you know, something that you've integrated. Because I have mine, but mine are the run of the mill stuff where it's like wake up before 5, read for an hour without my phone, and train, right? It's simple. I've kept it basic, but like, what have you guys been doing that is in line with that rock star mom who just gets shit done?
You want to go first? You want me to go first?
Whatever you want.
I mean, I think for me, you know, and first off, the 3 that you named that you're doing yourself,
Yeah,
perfect. If more people could just pick those 3, you know, wake up early,
yeah,
get a little bit of reading in, you know, without their phone, please, without your phone, get off Twitter.
I
And
flipped the hourglass, man.
Oh,
I
that's
flipped the
perfect.
hourglass.
Right, but those external cues help
Yeah.
out a lot, you know, help out a lot.
Totally.
Avoid the distractions.
You know, and train, if you could do those 3 things in the day, yeah, that's one hell of a day by itself, you know. But for me, I think it was, you know, adding back into that, and again, to circle back to another one of your points, always coming back to that, my clarity, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like actually starting to align things with the values, with those non-negotiables that I had. Just whatever the non-negotiables are, do you meet that criteria? Right? If you don't meet that criteria, like I can't help you. You know, I just can't. You know, you're not willing to meet me where I know that my expectations are. And if that's the case, like, so a big thing for me was just, you know, starting to really help the people that wanted to be helped in the first place.
Yeah.
You know, I can't help people that don't want to be helped.
Yep. No doubt.
You know, and another thing for me was, and I haven't done the best of this, but you know, I'm starting to get better, is taking that time for myself. Whether it's 30
That's
minutes,
so hard.
5 hours, you know,
Yeah,
I'm one of
when
those.
you got minds running like ours.
I'm
Yeah,
when I got a mind running like his, you know, I'm like, he's the dreamer, I'm the taskmaster. I'm like, okay, perfect. You got these 50 things we gotta do. I gotta come up with all these plans.
He's
but
like, dude, you just threw all this shit on my plate.
yeah, I'm like, all right, great. There goes my weekend. But you know, I'm one of those people that will literally work through the whole weekend, regardless of what I have to do. Like, I mean, don't get me wrong. I like to go out. I live on South Beach. I like going to clubs. I like going to nice restaurants. I like hanging out with my friends. But if I have something to do, I'll do it over those things in a heartbeat. And I started to realize, like, you know, to another one of your points about your family, like, I don't know how long people are going to be around. Sure. You know, whether they move out of Miami or they, you know, I fall out of touch with them in general, which has happened too often. And I've circled back around to those friends. Luckily, you know, they've been very open and ready to bring me back into their life, but really just taking time for myself, right? Where I'm not working, you know. I mean, the 3 of us clearly are very high achievers, very, you know, type A type of personalities, but with that personality comes a lot of pressure. And a lot of times, at least for me, I would let that pressure overwhelm me, right? And then it would fog that clarity that I had. You know, that initial motivation I had because I knew the direction I had in would lead to distraction from all these other things that I didn't really need to take on or allow myself to be a part of. Mm-hmm. So all of that started to go away once COVID really hit. You know, I was like, okay, family, you know, friends, business. Yeah. But none of that was more important than what I did for myself. And that would really be the couple main things that I would say that I really learned and that I've really taken upon myself as non-negotiables. You know, help those that really want to be helped, can't help the hopeless or helpless, right? And then putting myself first.
I gotta say, for me,
great question, by the way. Sorry, great question.
No, it makes you think, right?
Yeah,
it makes you think. And I think anybody listening right now, if they haven't thought about their non-negotiables, like that's a very powerful exercise to go through, because there's a very big difference between saying I'm going to try and go to bed at 9 o'clock versus I go to bed at 9, right? Yeah. When you start to like just set rules that are part of your identity, it just becomes how things are.
Yep.
You
No,
know?
100%. We even asked that question to one of our other guests, CJ Kogel, but it was more specific. We're like, what were your non-negotiables with your partner, with your significant other? So obviously a great question. So I guess on my end, I would say, one of the things that I was like, I want to be more organized and prioritized with my schedule. And I was just like, I want to make sure that I respect it. And
you've gotten a lot better on that, I have to say.
Woo! And
I
got to say that was one of the things that I told myself. I was like, I'm going to respect my schedule. What I put down. And that's what I'm going to do. And from there also too, it led me to not only just putting down the things, but being intentional with the things that I put down for that specific time, because I know it's easy as entrepreneurs. We're like, oh, but I got this going on. But wait, what if I fill in? I can always move this over here and just, instead of just like, no, I'm going to be intentional with what I wrote down because this is important as much as this, because it's going to bring me long-term success, which is one of the things I work with my clients and showing them that, because I was one of those for a long time who was very unorganized when it came to that.
You?
Me, I know.
Nah.
I know.
It's funny because from looking from afar, I'd be surprised to hear that, right? Because I know you have so much going on, but to know behind the scenes that you didn't necessarily feel structured or organized
blows
about
my mind every day, honestly. Blows
He's
blows my mind every day. I'm like,
He's
bro, I don't know how you do it. I don't know.
Yeah. I'm OCD with my schedule. Like I've got a whiteboard that takes up my entire wall here. One side is financial goals and reverse engineering them and how I'm going to get there. The other is to-do list with buckets and this, that, the other thing. Like I have systems. So, but without that, you strip me from that and I'm just going to like mush into this
I'm
chair.
lost.
Like, yeah, I'm going to be like, what am I
I'm
doing?
lost. He'll tell you. I make lists about making lists.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You will do that.
Yeah.
You will do that. No, and that definitely has really been a game changer. And just also too, going back, like he said, family time being important, like me with my family. One of the things that I've been able to enjoy the most is seeing my little one grow up through her big stages of her life, she's a year and a half. She's going to be 2 in January. And, you can imagine when COVID hit, around March, she was still very young. So I was able to experience her walking, learning how to walk, babbling the words, doing all these amazing things that I was just like, I've been able to get to enjoy them and see them firsthand because I'm here, and one of the things was important to me was like, if I'm going to put family time in my schedule, I'm going to make sure I'm intentional with it, because, and I'm not saying I still don't suffer because as entrepreneurs, our minds are always going and they can drift off to that, but I've worked hard and I continue to do my best to work hard. When I am with my family, I'm with my family, because one of the things I learned from some of my coaches is just like, whatever you put in your schedule, that's important to you. And you got to treat it as anything else that is highly important. So if you treat your business like this, whatever else is in your schedule is going to be treated just the way you give that same amount of attention to your business, and you put everything aside. So that was one of my biggest things that I said, well, I'm going to treat things like this. Am I perfect? No. But am I way better than what I was before? Heck yeah. And I see the difference. I see the huge difference.
Well, and it shows with your family too. What's Stella's favorite word?
Dada.
There you go. I mean, even when we talk on the phone the whole time, I just hear dada, dada, dada. Like, it goes to show. And, as someone who didn't have their father in their life, it's something that I always tell them, even when we're doing work, I'm like, dude, you got to get out of here. Like, you got to go. Like, I'm single. I'll stay here. I can do it. You got to go spend time with her. Like, that's more important than anything in the world to me, is seeing a dad actually take hold in their child's life, so commendable that you've been able to handle all these things. I appreciate it. I say it to you off camera all the time, but
no, I appreciate it,
man. I think,
thank you,
you know what, one of those, and it's a little bit off tangent to an extent, but just another kind of takeaway for me of this whole time. And specifically kind of like to any business owners listening in too, is communication, right? So like you guys, it's really cool to just like watch your friendship like transpire in front of me, right? Where it's like a tangible thing, right? And I think that to me is it's so important, right? I have a couple friends who are like brothers to me who have supported me through all of this, and that's something that I probably take for granted in terms of time. And when you go back and you say, you look at your schedule, what you put on your schedule is what is a priority to you. And one of the books that I just read, talks about auditing your schedule and say like, listen, like take a step back and look at how much you are scheduling for family time. If you say family is one of the most important things in your lives, but you have 2 hours of your week dedicated to family time, then you're lying. Then you are lying to yourself. And you might be saying it, but if it ain't the case, then it ain't the case. So it's just, it's interesting to see that kind of come full circle from watching you two to my own experience, to my reading, all that jazz. But one of the biggest things for me, lessons learned, and I learned it the hard way, is communication. And as a business owner, communicating with your team who's relying on you as a leader to just let them know what's going on and really just let them know where you're headed, where your head's at, all that stuff. And you have to, you know, you have to carry yourself a certain type of way as a business owner and make sure that people know that you are striving to figure it out. Right. I think sometimes you can look at a business and you can say, man, they've got it all figured out. Right. But behind the scenes, if you're a business owner, you know, you're just kind of day by day checking up and
just putting fires out left and right, left and right. I feel like a firefighter, just like fire hose here. All right, open water here.
And the best
all
ones,
day, every day.
The best ones are the ones who recognize exactly that, but just pivot quickly and make decisions and just keep pressing forward. And that's that, right? So for me, we lost 2 of our key players, if you will, at the very beginning of this for a few different reasons, right? Personal reasons for themselves and maybe disagreements with us as a business in terms of just how we handled certain things. The lesson for me there is, it goes back to exactly what we started this conversation with, is that it falls on you, right? If you point the finger back at somebody else and say, oh, like they were just lazy or they didn't get it or they don't see the big picture. No, man, like you are the owner of the business and it's your responsibility to direct the people, lead the people, show them the vision, all of it. Right. And so something for me that I'm constantly striving for, like for Anthony to talk about spending time with his family and for you to talk about like, you know, just taking time for yourself. For me, it's communicating with my team, because I can operate with a head down, hat down mentality where I'm like, I don't need any recognition. I don't need anyone to tell me good job. I don't need nothing, right? I'm just going to show up and I will work from dawn till dusk, period, because that's how I'm wired. Not everybody's wired that way. And if you're going to say that you're a good leader and somebody who's got a vision for a brand and a business that's greater than just yourself, then you need to kind of check your ego at the door and lead people how they need to be led, just like you need to coach people how they need to be coached. So that's been one of my biggest takeaways, and something that unfortunately it's just not ingrained in who I am. I have to really work at it and learn. And I think that's a resounding takeaway for me during this time, is you gotta learn to be a leader.
100. I think it's humbling too, you know, you bringing out that, and, you know, and all of us showing our vulnerabilities on areas that we've got to, you know, really improve on. And I think it really shows a lot of courage too, when you can step up and actually show, like, you know, I need to work on these areas and I need to create these non-negotiables so I can get past these certain areas and move forward, you know. And I think it's really cool when you can see people who are vibing on the same frequency, yet we have these different takes on how we're approaching our lives, non-negotiables, you know, the differences and what we're working on. And of course, we're still moving forward, but it's to show others too. I think it's for others to understand, like, you know, at the same time, you know, we're not perfect. We're not invincible. We're not this. And you guys can do this as much as we can, and maybe even better too, you know? So it all goes back to like awareness, clarity, understanding, growth, learning, applying, communicating, you know, having those non-negotiables. But I really love the part that you said, you know, understanding your coaches and like you said, you know how you are. You're not a person that needs all this, you know, affirmation on top of himself, or needs to be told, hey, you know, amazing job, this and that. But maybe the other coach does. You know, maybe the coach needs it. Hey, you're doing a great job every now and then, or hey, you're doing this, you know. And it's funny because what's that book, you know, the 5 love languages for your partner, you know, but I guess it goes the same way, you know.
Maybe I should have read that book before I got divorced, but
hey, but wait, I'm your podcast husband.
Oh my God. Okay.
For now.
Yeah.
Learn my love language.
No, I'm good. I'm good. You got too thick of a beard for me.
But I think it just also goes back to like, it's crazy though, but even you bring that up made me think like, you know, shoot, like, yeah, we got to have an understanding in that area too. And I think that's important. I'm looking back
I'm already
on
thinking
our
about
stuff,
how I
you
could
know?
be better.
You know, ourselves, you know. So I think this is truly, hey, maybe you write a book about that.
We'll see. I'm writing some chapters now, but it's one of those, it's,
the
you know,
alpha communicator.
Do you ever look at your lives and just say like, yo, there's been so many different chapters? Like I feel for myself that I've literally lived different lives, right?
Every
and in
day.
a very
100%.
in a very short period of time, from high school to college, like those are chapters in a very interesting book. And I've literally toyed with, you know, I know we're totally kidding, but like I've literally toyed with the idea of like writing out my story or trying to. Because there really are, like when you can, I journal all the time. That's why I pulled out my book when we first started talking, and I was going to take notes as we spoke, but I write every day. It's part of kind of my routine and non-negotiables. I read and then I write because I need to kind of just get thoughts on paper and reflect and whatever. If Anthony, I thought you said an awesome word, right? When you were talking about implementation, right? So it's great to read these books. It's great to learn lessons, all that stuff. If you aren't actually applying what you're learning, then nothing's happening, right? Like you're like a sponge, you're like, it's just, nothing's happening. Nothing changes, right? And so that application component, I think is so crucial to actually growing, or else it's there's nothing happening. You know, it's like information goes in and information goes out. But if you can take hold of the information that you're gathering, whether it's about, you know, how you communicate with others, how you lead, whatever, about yourself, and you actually apply it to then get better, that's when shit starts to change, right? And for anybody listening, like if you only get one thing from this whole podcast, right? It's great to reflect, it's great to read, it's great to better yourself, whatever, but to actually take steps forward, you have to apply the lessons learned. And I think we're all saying we're trying to do that on a daily basis in whatever avenues we feel like we need to get better at. That's the difference. That's when you start looking around and you're like, damn, how did he get over there? How did he, you know, how is he doing what he's doing? It's because you're taking what you're learning and actually applying it day in, day out.
1,000%. I think we could go probably for another 4 hours. Honestly, I think we're all on the same wavelength on a whole
time flies,
whole bunch of different topics. But you know, there's always time for another one. Can't wait to be on, you know, 100%. Your podcast once it launches, and you know, anything we can do, honestly, anything we can do to help with the gyms, with the online stuff, with the podcast, with anything, please let us know. We'd be more than happy to do whatever it is that you ask of us.
I appreciate it. I was so
share your message.
Yeah,
thank you. Where can people find you, Sam?
I'm simple. I've yet to explore other avenues outside of Instagram, laughably so. So Coach.Sam Tooley on the IG.
Same way.
We just started a YouTube channel kind of documenting my training. So we've got about maybe 10 episodes out. We do it every Monday.
Amazing.
I am right now training to run 100 miles on the track on November 1st, in memory of my little brother. We've got a nonprofit in his name, and
send us those details. We'd love to. We'll donate for sure.
That would be amazing. Yeah. And we're you know, so to answer your question, Coach.Sam Tooley, you'll find everything on there. And I try to do my best to document all the craziness that we got going on.
Awesome. But really send us a link to donate. We'll throw it up on our story. Anything we can do to help that, you know, amazing cause in your brother's name.
And to get Josh to run too.
Yeah. I mean, I might actually pound some pavement.
Just got to loop the track 400 times and we'll be good. We'll be done.
Can I do it? Can I do it on my scooter?
Yes. Yeah. You can be my
I'll be the pace car.
There we go. There we go.
Exactly.
Any new projects coming up besides new locations that you're going to be pushing through?
Honestly, outside of the new locations coming, continuing to double down on the endurance coaching online. So I am accepting clients always and forever. And then realistically speaking, I'm really enjoying working on building out that YouTube channel and just showing people and similar to yourselves, showing people that there's more to people who do fitness for a living than just the fitness that they do, right? I really do try to see myself and paint a picture of somebody who's an entrepreneur trying to do things outside of the fitness world and just dabbling down, you know, like it's fun to have ideas in your head. It's the best part of my job is having an idea and getting to see it come to reality. And it could be as simple or as complicated rather as a podcast. Or
yeah, we thought it was simple.
Yeah,
It definitely is not.
Yeah. We'll have to talk offline about how much work I'm getting into here.
Yeah.
But it's, you know, doing stuff like we looked at a space yesterday, man, that we were thinking about turning into a donut shop, right?
Epic.
And like people are like, what are you doing, man? And I'm like, I'm having fun. This is what it's about, right? Like if there's something that people might enjoy and I can create a community, a vibe, an atmosphere, an ambiance about it, that's what I'm super passionate about.
Boom.
So the hip hop donut shop into
Awesome.
a block near you.
Can't wait. I'm a big advocate on donuts. I ate one every day for a year to tell my clients that they could
do you guys ship to Miami?
We'll find out.
Yeah. If not, we're coming up.
That's it.
We just have to open
Sponsor
up one down there, man.
Yeah, for sure. Listen, I'll show you all the good spots in South Beach to open up on, man.
There we go.
I'll be down there. I'll be down your guys' way in February for that.
Awesome. Let us know. We'll get a couple workouts in. We'll have you back on the podcast. We'll do it in person.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah, it'd be great.
Cool.
We'd love to have you back on.
Oh yeah, man.
Love it.
Hopefully that donut shop is open by then.
I know. You don't understand.
My carry-on on the plane, I'm going to be sitting with a box a dozen for you.
Perfect. I don't think I could explain it. I love donuts.
He's like drooling over there.
No, you don't understand. Even my dog loves donuts. The people at Dunkin' Donuts my dog gets obsessed when I walk past Dunkin' Donuts because
that's so funny.
They'll like come out and give him an old fashioned donut and he gets all fucking excited and like, oh, like father, like son.
There you go. I love it.
So
Good
brother,
stuff,
I got a question for you. What's the biggest piece of advice in one sentence that you can leave off to all our listeners today?
Yeah. Fortunately, I've been posed this question in a few different ways on a few different podcasts, and it's kind of a harsh ending that I like to give, but it's that nobody's going to do the work for you. Nobody's going to do the work for you. So, do you want me to go into detail there, or we can leave it at that? I mean, at the end of the day, it comes back to like you have a choice, right? And you have a responsibility, and it just took me a long freaking time to really grasp that, right? I think you can see people, especially now with social media, and you can think, man, they got it good. They got it easy. It comes naturally to them. The analogy that I like to give all the time is I am a good runner, right? I was blessed to be good at running. But if you think that it's easy for me, you are out of your mind because I don't let it be easy, right? If you are giving 110%, it's what is the right word that I'm looking for? It is, it's individual to you, right? So like 110% for me is still 110%. I'm still pushing as hard as I possibly can. So yes, maybe I'm moving faster than you, but I am hurting, right? And so it kind of always bring it back to that in the sense that no one's going to do the work for you. If you're going to push yourself as hard as you can, because that's when the change happens. And that's when, rocks get moved and things change. So for me, it just took me a long time to really grasp that and understand that at the end of the day, the responsibility falls on me to take control of my life and to kind of push forward as best I can. So I think that's a truth to live by. And it's one that it's not easy. It's not a sexy truth, right? But it's just a fact. And the more that you can lean into that and embrace it, the bigger things that will happen.
Guys,
awesome.
You heard it yourselves from the man himself.
Legend.
Woo!
Legend
Guys,
already.
Nobody's going to do it for you. Plain and simple.
Yeah, I can't wait for February, man. Really excited. All right, guys. Until next time.